Hello and welcome on in. My name is Cece from Crochet Like the Pros, and this is Crochet 101, the basics of crochet. And in this lesson 1, materials, tools, and supplies, you're going to learn what you need to get started as a crocheter along your crochet journey. So the first thing that you're going to need from your tools is, of course, you're going to need a crochet hook, and your crochet hook is what you're going to start with. For you to be able to crochet, you're going to definitely need a good set of hooks. So I recommend that you start with metal hooks that are straight, because it is going to be easier for you to control your tension, which is something that we work on when we are learning how to crochet. So you can get either the metal or you can get the brushed aluminum. You can see that this is brushed aluminum, this is metal here. These are also brushed aluminum here. Doesn't matter which kind you get, as long as you get a set of them to start with. You can get one that are straight without the ergonomic handles, or you can go and you can get the ones with the ergonomic handles. And when you are starting off crocheting, especially with this crochet series, you will definitely need an H hook, because the H hook is what's going to be applicable for you to use with the worsted weight yarns. So next on your list is also good segue is going to be your yarns. You can use the whichever brand you want. You can get yarn almost anywhere now, even in the dollar store or at Walmart, wherever you go to, Michael's or Joann's. And you can get the 4 weight that's going to go with your H hook, and you will see that it recommends the H hook here on the ball band. You can get this variegated colored thread, or you can get a color that is like a light tan, which will also help you see the stitch as well. And if you want, you can get like pink or green or any light colored yarn that helps you see the stitch as well. Stay away from the black yarns, the browns, the dark purples. Any of the dark colored yarns is going to make it hard for you to see the stitches. And then after that, the next thing on your supply list is going to be yarn needles. You'll definitely need yarn needles. They come in different styles and in different lengths. You see that here we have some that are made in out of metal and others that are made out of plastic. Those are the 2 common types of materials that you're going to see the yarn needles in. And they do come in 2 different styles also. They'll come in a straight style and they'll come like in a curved style. The curved style is just for easier way of you getting into the stitch. So that's fine, but I suggest that you start off with the metal straight yarn needles, because it's going to be easier for you to work with to get into your stitches. So you're going to find yarn needles in the where the sewing section is, because these yarn needles are often called darning needles or tapestry needles. So you're definitely going to need a set of those. The next thing that you're going to need, of course, is going to be your measuring tape. And why do you need a measuring tape? Because if you are working on, let's say, your granny squares, and your granny squares are 10 centimeters, you're always going to be measuring your squares to make sure that you are creating a square that's 10 centimeters. So you are definitely going to need a measuring tape that has both inches and centimeters, because a lot of the crocheters, when they measure a piece, they will put down either inch or centimeters or both. So this comes in handy when you have both already on your measuring tape. Next up, what you're going to need is going to be a set of, or just some way for you to mark your stitches. So stitch markers are great. You can use the stitch markers that come with a kit if you prefer to buy a kit. The crochet or the knitting kits, you know, it doesn't matter because they all just have like the regular tools that you'll need to get started. They normally will not include the crochet hooks. And if it does, it's a generic hook that it includes. So you can definitely get that to get you started, which will have all of the little supplies that I'm talking about now. So you can, if you decide that you know, are not going to get a crochet kit, you can just simply use a piece of a yarn. So as you can see here, I just clipped a piece of yarn and I tied it onto some my ball here, and that is exactly how you will go ahead and you'll mark your stitch. When you start, you just get your, it has to be, of course, contrasting color so you're able to recognize where your stitch marker is, and you just tie it on the stitch that you need. And whenever you get to that stitch, then you just know that you have to do whatever it is that you're required to do with it because you have it marked off. All right, next on your list of supplies, and a cute little tool for you to have, especially if you're interested in working with amigurumi toys or plushies, is you're going to need a yarn, and you're going to need a row counter. A row counter is going to make your life a whole lot easier. So they have this row counter that you just actually put on your hook, and while you're working, you're able to just change the dial on the stitch mark on the row counter, and the row counter just marks the the row that you're working on. that's what you get. That's what I give for doing the row counter after the stitch markers. So you know, it's just you know, something that'll keep you on track. And you know, you could use a kind like this, or you can use the one that goes on your finger that's like a ring. And you know, every time you finish working on a row, you just go ahead and you'll mark it off. Or you can use a digital one, an app, and it's called My Row Counter. You can use that, and that will also help you to keep track of your rows. Like I said, which is really great if you want to do plushies where you're going to always be working in the rounds and you need to know what round you're on. So the next thing that you're going to definitely need is going to be a gauge ruler. This is a gauge ruler, and this measures your stitches per inch, so that when you're working on a project and you know that you need to have a specific amount of stitches in 1 inch, you will be able to lay your ruler on top of your fabric and count your stitches to make sure that you're on track. This is good to have as a beginner because it gets you used to working with the ruler. And also you'll see that it has holes here, and these holes here are in case you pick up a hook and you're not sure of what size it is, then you're able to just go ahead and place the hook inside the hole, and you will know that, like for instance, this is a G hook, and if I look here, it should be a G hook marked on here somewhere, and I don't even see the mark. Yep, G 4 millimeter. There you go. All right, so that comes in handy for when you're not sure which size hook you're working with. Another thing that I wanted to mention too that you might want to get are called blocking mats with pins. It's something that is not 100% necessary for you to use, but if you're interested in designing a lot of clothing or blankets with the granny squares, that you're going to be making a lot of granny squares, I would invest in a set of blocking mats with pins. And there's some that are just plain colored ones, and there are others that are ruled with the inches line on there. I would suggest that you get those, so that way if you know that you need to pin your granny square for 4 inches, you would just measure out the 4 inches. You'll put your pins in there, and that will make sure that all of your squares are 4 by 4 inches, or 8 by 8, or 12 by 12, or whatever inches that you need your granny square to be in. The next thing that I would recommend too is that when you have time, you don't have to get it right away, is a good yarn bowl, because the yarn bowl is going to ensure that your yarn doesn't roll off of your couch or off of your bed, or if you're working at your craft table, and that it doesn't land on the floor where your yarn can pick up lint and maybe pet hair and just dust and dirt from you know, every day of us walking on the floor. You'll keep your ball nice and clean and available wherever you need it. So one thing too that you can also get are what's called project bags. Project bags is where you're able to go and you're able to put everything in one bag, and it'll keep, like, you know, your scissors, your yarn, your hooks, everything all together and organized. And you can buy them at different places. At your craft store, you'll see that they're mainly made out of like a canvas or a linen or a different you know, fabric, and you it comes like a pouch, so you close up the pouch and then you have all of your materials and tools in there, so for you to continue working on your project. One thing that I like to do is I like to keep them in, this is like a large freezer bag, and I like to keep them there. And you can see here that I have my ball band in here with my project and my yarn, which keeps everything, and I even have the hook in here, which keeps everything nice and organized. So when I am working on a project, all I have to do is pick up the bag and I'm ready to go ahead and rock and roll. And the last thing that I would say that you could also pick up, which will become handy as time goes along, is going to be a yarn winder. These are called yarn winders or ball winders, and what you will do is that you'll put your piece of, you know, you start the yarn here, and then you'll thread it through, and then you'll go ahead and you'll just wind it up. And what this does is it will make a nice little cake, a pull-through cake like this, so that you're able to use your leftover yarn that's nice and caked, and you'll be able to use it as a pull through, center pull, so you can just pull your yarn out as you need it, and and that way you don't have like pieces, you know, or big you know, amounts of yarn all over the place, and it definitely prevents your yarn from getting tangled. So that is what I wanted to come on and talk about today. Today, this is lesson 1, materials, tools, and supplies. And I've given you a list of the materials, tools, and supplies that you will need to get started as a crocheter. So your assignment for this lesson is to try and get as many items as you can, so that you'll have your list of your materials, tools, and supplies ready for you to go into the next lesson. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I shall see you in the next lesson. Bye.